The Fox and the Grapes. One hot summer's day, a fox was strolling through an orchard, till he came to a bunch of grapes just ripening on a vine which had been trained over a lofty branch. "Just the thing to quench my thirst," quoth he. Drawing back a few paces, he took a run and a jump, and just missed the bunch. Turning round again, with a 1, 2, 3, he jumped up, but with no greater success. Again and again he tried after the tempting morsel, but at last had to give it up, and walked away with his nose in the air, saying, "I am sure they are quite sour." The Ants and the Grasshopper. One bright day in late autumn, a family of ants were bustling about in the warm sunshine, drying out the grain they had stored up during the summer, when a starving grasshopper, his fiddle under his arm, came up and humbly begged for a bite to eat. "What?" cried the ants in surprise. "Haven't you stored anything away for the winter? What in the world were you doing all last summer?" "I didn't have time to store up any food," whined the grasshopper. "I was so busy making music that before I knew it, the summer was gone." The ants shrugged their shoulders in disgust. "Making music, were you?" they cried. "Very well. Now dance." And they turned their backs on the grasshopper and went on with their work. The Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. A certain wolf could not get enough to eat because of the watchfulness of the shepherds. But one night he found a sheepskin that had been cast aside and forgotten. The next day, dressed in the skin, the wolf strolled into the pasture with the sheep. Soon, a little lamb was following him about, and was quickly led away to slaughter. That evening, the wolf entered the fold with the flock. But it happened that the shepherd took a fancy for mutton broth that very evening, and, picking up a knife, went to the fold. There, the first he laid hands on and killed was the wolf. The Gnat and the Bull. On the horn of a bullock alighted a gnat, To which it is likely you'll say, what of that? I'll tell you, this insect thought he was so great that the beast must be weary with bearing his weight. "I'm afraid that my pressure disturbs you," said he. "You must feel much oppressed by a person like me. But if for 5 minutes you'll let me remain, I'll remove to some tree which my weight can sustain." "Sit still and be quiet, I pray," said the beast. "Your weight does not burden my neck in the least. Indeed, I knew not of your coming, and so shall not miss you whene'er you think proper to go." And there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4 little Aesop fables for you in today's door. These 4 were from 3 different versions of the Aesop Fables. I'll put the information about each one in the video description. And for me, my favourite was the poetic Jefferys Taylor version, from which I took the gnat and the bull. I've read through quite a lot of that book, it's really lovely. His version was published in 1828, called Aesop in Rhyme with Some Originals. And yeah, it's really quite charming. He wrote 58 poems based on Aesop's fables, and then added 13 more rhyming fables of his own creation. Really recommend you having a look for that one. The fox and the grapes, the gnat and the bull, the ants and the grasshopper, they were all requested by you in the comments over these last few days, and then I decided to also add in the wolf in sheep's clothing, with it just being such an iconic phrase that I feel like I've heard so many times throughout my childhood and growing up. And so I think that wraps up the Aesop Fables for this Advent calendar. I really hope you've enjoyed them. It seems like a lot of you have had a lot of fun listening along. Thank you for all the fantastic comments, all that interaction. We've had some great discussions after all these stories every day. But now I'm going to move on to some wintry tales, some Christmas tales, and I do just ask again, if you've anything that you would particularly like to hear, let me know now, and I might be able to squeeze it in sometime over these last few days. And before I go today, it was wonderful to see all that positivity for yesterday's story, the Fox Fan Special, where I read a brilliant little story written by a listener. Their name is M. Sunflower, and I have now added their details to the video description of yesterday's door. I've also added their Instagram link as well, so feel free to check that out. Thank you so very much for M. Sunflower for sharing that story with me over on my Discord server. Really wonderful stuff, and like I said, fantastic to see a bunch of you engaging with that story and really taking a lot from it. I thought that was really, really tremendous. Thank you to you all. So you take care now. Do share your reflections on the morals of those 4 Aesop fables that we had today. I'm looking forward to seeing what you made of them. And I'll be back when you open tomorrow's door, day 19, where we will start the Christmassy, wintry, festive tales. Read to you soon.